and justice for all.
Okay, public comment. Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the treasurer report. Jessica is ill and will not be able to be here. She passed out or emailed the trial balances earlier. Request for resolution. The village board has approved the purchase of a fire rescue boat in the amount of $34,565 from the fire equipment reserve. This purchase from the fire equipment reserve was subject to permissive referendum and was posted in the Daily Gazette for 30 days with no petitions brought forward. With this being said, resolution is requested to transfer and unrestrict $34,565 from the fire equipment reserve bank account to the general fund bank account. Adjusting entries follows: CR fire equipment reserve cash A203 34565, DR general fund cash A200 34565. Resolution is then requested to appropriate the resolution to do that. What I just said.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Tom, discussion?
Why do I think we did this one last month? We didn't, right? All right,
I don't think so.
okay. We'll vote. Tom,
Yes.
Heidi, Paul,
Yes.
Matt, and Gary?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Resolution is then requested to appropriate the transferred reserve funds by increasing the fire equipment expense account 3410.2 by $34,565 to pay for the fire rescue boat. Budget entry follows: DR appropriated fund balance A599 34565 and CR fire equipment A3410.2 34565.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Who seconded that? Matt?
Me. Yep.
Okay, thank you. We'll vote. Tom,
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Gary? Gary?
Okay, Chief.
You're muted, Frank.
I know, I'm trying to, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, the boat, you did approve it last month, but you didn't move the money last month.
Okay.
So that's probably what you remember. So last month we were still busy, 38 calls for the month of January. 20 some odd calls so far this month. We are starting to get back to doing our hands-on drill lectures last month by Zoom. This week we're back to our regular drills. We're still not holding meetings or anything like that because we don't want everybody together at once to avoid any problems. By the end of this month, we'll have almost 100% of the department will be vaccinated. We've only got about 3 or 4 people that have not either signed up for it or gotten it so far. So we'll pretty much be 100% within the next month of having everybody vaccinated. And other than that, that's pretty much where we stand. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
Thank you. Animal control, Wireless, Chief, Library, Code Enforcement Officer.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Things have slowed down at both Griffin's Ridge and Victoria Landing. I got 2 new applications for building permits from Belmonte for 2 new houses, 2 more houses at Griffin's Ridge. He currently has 3 houses under construction. He'd like to get 5 under construction. But with the cold weather, things have slowed down. I'm working with the assessor in the town of Malta. She'll be in the office tomorrow. She's looking to reassess houses in the village. I do my best to play everybody's assessment down, but they'll be in town tomorrow.
What
Yes.
exactly, Peter, what exactly do they do when they're in town?
They've been riding around the village looking at people's houses.
Right.
Then they come in and they want to look at all the building permits, what they've done, what people have.
My assessment hasn't changed here in at least 10 years.
I don't know. I don't think they're wholesaling, changing people's assessment, although they've been going around the village taking pictures. So
Yeah.
I'll find out tomorrow if I get the sense that generally they're just looking at people who have done work on their house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not paranoid about this, but I've done a lot of work in.
But it's inside, they don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this a townwide initiative, Peter, or are they picking on us in Round Lake?
No, it's town-wise, but they do have a big focus on Round Lake.
Seems, yeah, I'm surprised.
They reassess us in Malta every year. Every year my assessment changes.
Well, that if you look at Clifton Park, they haven't reassessed Clifton Park in 10 or 15 years, everybody. And the question is that a number of years ago, the supervisor of the town of Malta cut a deal with the state and got $25,000 if they would do reassessment every year. I think it goes till 2023 or 2024 that they will reassess everybody every year because they cut a deal with the state for $25,000.
I've been reassessed many times and I didn't even do anything.
You should be safe, Heidi, because they won't reassess you unless the work is done.
Oh, well, that may
So
never
you should
happen.
be okay.
But that's the-
But wait till next year.
My contractor's perfect for that then.
Peter, it
It's
may
never
be
been-
that it is a revaluation each year, not a reassessment.
Mhm.
Yeah, could be.
What is the difference, Tom?
I think the level of scrutiny of the individual homes.
Okay.
And keep in mind that the tax burden is the same. They just divide it differently if they haven't done an accurate revaluation or reappraisal.
So you could have a much higher assessed valuation, but so would everybody else. And with the tax levy being the same, it's a wash almost.
It's a wash at the end of the equation, but if you don't do a revaluation or reassessment each year, some people are paying more than their fair share, others are not.
So that's it for code enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Auditorium / AP3.
Adrian, you have anything?
We are redoing the contract for Carpe Diem again this year in some COVID appropriate capacity. So they're coming back. We had a conversation with another organization who was looking at not a residency, but kind of maybe a long-term situation, but we're not sure if they're going to join us this year, but they're Opera Saratoga and they're a good relationship to have established. So whether it's this year or next year, that would bring an interesting group of people into the village. So that's positive. In talking about programming this year, I think what we're going to be focusing on is just doing virtual events, live recorded kind of things, no audiences, and push and promote those out to the public. I don't know. That's it in terms of programming.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk before I did.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, because
Um,
I was thinking, I already said this stuff, but it was in the AP3 meeting, so.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a little different, but yeah, no, that's kind of where we're at as far as programming is right now.
Okay. I just have a couple of items. One, little update on the post project. They came, last I knew, everything was still in place, but it was gonna be removed. They did the repair, but I think they were waiting for concrete to set or something. I don't know. I think you, at least Kim probably saw the photos that they took of the degradation around the post. It was pretty
Yeah.
frightening, really.
Yeah.
And I expect that other posts have similar problems. So we're probably going to have to work on those at some point. The good news is now we know how to do it and we have the engineering drawings, so it'll be a little less expensive. And hopefully shoring up this one post will slow the sinking of others. We're trying to get bids right now for the next phase of the project, which is basically sanding down the concrete floors. We're having a very hard time getting people to call us back or to bid on the project. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, send them our way. We expect that project will be in the range of $15,000 or $20,000, just guessing. So that's where that project is. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we got quite a lot of donations in memory of Aaron Morris. And we've tentatively decided that we're going to purchase a new bench for the organ. The one that's in there squeaks, and it's also not the right height. Once you know that the organ bench squeaks, you can't not hear that when you go to hear an organ concert. So you're welcome. Anyway, I contacted Tom Dressler to see how to best go about this. He had some recommendations about the kind we should get, and then said I should contact Andover Organ, and I did. And they're coming through this area in early March, and they're going to go in the auditorium with the board's permission, of course, and take some measurements and look into getting a custom-made bench that will have a crank mechanism to make it higher or lower. So I have absolutely no idea how much that will cost, but it seemed like a good use of those funds. And if it ends up being a $10,000 bench, we'll have to reassess, but that project is in the works. So that's all I have.
It's a nice idea.
Gary, this is Tom. I have a question. The report for the auditorium, which we haven't received.
Yep, the master plan.
Yes. Do you want me to write a letter asking for whatever we have paid to be returned?
Well, I'd like to report. And
Yeah.
we did do some work on it. So I mean, maybe see if he responds in a week or 10 days. And if not, then we can start sending nasty grams. But it doesn't, I don't know if we really want the money back versus the report, but that's the board's decision. That's my 2 cents.
Have we sent him a letter saying, excuse me, where's the report?
Yeah. Well, email.
Mhm.
I mean,
More than one, but one like
Yeah.
yes.
His part of the report is finished. We're waiting on, he has 2 subs that he's waiting to insert their part of the report. One of them is Andover, and the other is a budgeting company that's going to, I think, sort of compile the projects that we want to do and how we can go about spending it, like what each portion's going to cost, a cost analysis person. And those are the 2 missing parts. I mean, it is his report. and those are just, sort of parts of it that are maybe out of his control, but he's very incommunicado and he just disappears into the void for long periods of time, despite many, many calls.
So Gary,
Give it a week. And then, Tom, you haven't written a letter directly to him, have you?
I'm sorry, again,
You have not written a letter directly to them, have you?
I have not. And obviously the purpose of the letter is not to get our money back, it's to light a fire. But why don't we wait a week and then I'll draft a letter and you can
Expressing
review it and
concern.
circulate it to those others who are involved and get their feedback and then tell me what you want to do.
And Lydia, if you're already speaking to Andover about something else, could you encourage them to submit
I'll
their,
ask them where they are, whether they've furnished things to Mark or
that would
what.
be good to know.
I'll send a message to Matt and ask him what the status of his participation is. I would imagine it's long since been done, but
Right.
Given that we're talking about auditorium, do you want to do the contracts now? Since we're on topic.
We can,
Sure.
but I had a couple questions,
On,
the auditorium contracts.
oh.
Yeah.
All right, let's move ahead to the auditorium contracts. Have to find them in my pile.
From a legal perspective,
Go ahead.
I think they are satisfactory, no objections.
We had I'm not miscommunication, that we had the wrong total amount written on there. We were copying the 2019 contract. Should have been the 2020. So the total should have been 3,500, not 3,000. So I'd have to rewrite it with the new dollar figures in there. And I think Heidi, Adrian was saying that you wanted to tweak a paragraph near the end. We can certainly do that or strike it.
Yeah, there was Adrian
Okay.
and I talked to her about it. I think it's more a matter of, taking out a sentence, reworking another one. It wasn't changing her meaning. It's just changing the clarity.
Okay.
Yeah, and I sent that over to you, Kim. So,
Okay, I'll take a look too.
yeah.
Should be easy fix. The bigger one was the dollar amount, and I apologize. We hadn't looked at the most recent contract and went back a year by mistake. So 3,500 instead of 3,000, split between Adrian and David.
Right.
So 1,750 each.
Is that the way you wanted it, Adrian?
Yes.
Okay.
And Kim, this may be a question for Jess, but do you know what the the line item is for the marketing budget for the auditorium? I was looking through
I don't off the top. I'm sorry.
All right, I will ask her. And then one other question I had is in these contracts, Adrian put in a section about the village being responsible for the parking for large events, for organizing that and directing and organizing volunteers. And I think that has been a discussion in the past, but this kind of solidified it. And what do you want to say about that?
We spoke about it last year. Adrian, you'd come to the office, I think we spoke about it. And I have a feeling that we had a verbal on it, but I never actually typed it into the contract. And I remembered it as I was editing this version, this year's the 2021 version, and thought that it would be best to put it in, put it in and have it there. I know, Matt, I think with the parking committee, we got a bunch of volunteers when there were bigger shows, and that seemed to work. This is not anything to do with Carpe Diem and what they need to provide us when they do their shows. You know, I don't know how that's going to pan out this year, but this was just for the shows, you know, the rest of the shows. So I thought that would be best to have that spelled out.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not taking on something we can't do, or that, you know, it isn't that we're going to hear about this at the, you know, not at the last minute, but that we'll be scrambling to do this because we didn't realize this was our responsibility. So, you know, what it says with large events, what are there? Is there a definition of large event? When are we going to take responsibility, and who does that? I mean, maybe this is already, Kim, it's already always happening and everybody's fine with it. But to me, saying the village is responsible for a parking plan and execution of it was just, I just want to talk it through that.
I don't know how it worked last year. I know that, Matt, I think you guys maybe coordinated with Adrian on the events on the calendar, did a look ahead on the calendar, what was coming up?
Basically,
I mean, large, small, I mean, I don't know.
every event except the two that we had specific contracts with were our responsibility. And I try to basically round up volunteers, and ideally you get 4 people. And if you get fewer than that, you just try to make it work as well as you can. But 4 seemed to be the ideal number, and everybody had vests, and we kind of knew what to do. The only thing is trying to get volunteers. And so when it's however many nights we have programming, whatever it is that the village is responsible for is a lot of it. It's just tough to get 4 people to do it every night. That's the only thing. We did okay. Some nights we had 1 or 2, and other nights we had more, but it would be nicer to have it more organized. I know last year was the first year that we kind of really did that. I think Adrian was kind of coordinating it before that, as far as I remember, right, Adrian?
Yeah.
Or you were helping with it, yeah. So that's all. I think it's doable, it's workable. We were using like a Doodle sign-up sheet, and just having people sign up for which events they wanted to do, and that's it. I think when we get the stretch golf cart up and running, we'll have to add a little bit more thought to how we're gonna shuffle people around too.
But you don't, Matt, you don't see that as a problem being in the contract?
The only issue is just trying to get, I mean, it's always the same way with all the things that we do, all the events we do, is just trying to get volunteers. But there seemed to be a decent enough number of people that helped out for the most part last year. There were, I just think it would be nice, maybe, you know, I could try to get it more concrete this year, and which I tried to do last year with the Doodle sign up to get people planned ahead of time. But you know, some of the events that are busier, you really need to have 4 people. You can't do it with 1 or 2.
And realistically, this year being a virtual thing, I don't think we're going to really be coming up against anything significant. And however Carpe Diem is going to manage their, you know, their camp and how they're doing that, it's going to be significantly reduced.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that we've got an issue there. So, and I think it's interesting, just as an aside, is referring to last year, not much really happened. So
oh yeah,
actually talking about 2019, crazy, right?
You're right. Yeah.
But
well, last year doesn't exist, you know.
Yeah. So
we went straight from 2019 to 2021. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really think that there's going to be, you know, much of an issue this year. And it was really just so that, and I think I do agree that when Matt, when you were handling that, you know, you get who shows up, but it was just helpful to have that support.
Right, for sure. And I think we dangled out, you know, they could attend the event or whatever, is a little bit of a reel them in thing. So yeah. So yeah.
But those were my only questions on that.
Yeah. It's fine. It's just working out the logistics. It's not too bad.
So you're going to do it again, Matt?
Yes.
Just,
yeah. Don't tell my wife.
Nobody calls
you know, I have
enough, because I don't have the time.
In a few years, my kids will be old enough that I'll have a
I was
parking
gonna
committee
say,
all by
you'll have
myself.
you'll have a whole
Yeah.
horde of volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. I need 4. I got 4.
That's right. That's right, right there. Just caught me.
All right, so we have 3 contracts to authorize me to sign. Do we authorize, let's authorize all at once. Kim, the Zoom crashed. She's trying to get back on.
To sign them in substantially the form presented to the board with the price change of, what was that?
It went from it was
3,000 to 35.
1,500 to what is,
3,000 to 3,500,
Yeah, you went 1,750 each.
1,500 to 1,750.
that's
each.
math. Yeah, I don't do that. So, all right. So with that change and yeah, and the minor changes that we discussed.
You and Kim discussed, you mean?
Do we need a resolution on this? Or
Yes. Amy
Yes.
as discussed.
we can do all 3 at once, so resolved?
Yes,
I believe so.
What are the 3?
Dan, David Straight, and Adrian.
David Straight, Adrian, and what else?
Dan Pescas.
Oh, okay. I would like to just go on record saying we need to give Dan more money. And if we don't do it this year, we should do it next year because it has been a while.
I agree.
No argument there.
Yeah, and if we have like a medal opportunity where we could present him with a medal, that would be good too.
Yes.
Do we have a key to the village?
Everyone has a key to the village.
I don't know who'd want that.
nobody locks their doors. What would be the point?
All right, I just let Kim back in, so she should be showing up shortly.
There she is.
So we had a second.
Second.
Okay, and discussion? Tom,
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
me? Yes. All right, so moved. Next, on to paper streets. Kim sent a chart and the draft policy around. I looked the policy over and it is acceptable to me. There was some, Matt, do you remember what the discussion was on the one little change on the chart?
Mid 9th Street
Mid 9th Street,
is village land, not parkland.
right, it doesn't abut any parkland.
Correct.
So mid 9th Street should be village.
Other than that, everything looked good to me.
I think we made one correction, one change last week as well.
I
So-
have a suggested change to the paragraph that says definition. The last sentence is the parkland deed provides that a paper street that touches parkland is considered parkland itself. I would change that to a paper street owned by the village, which is contiguous with the park, is itself a park. Period. Non-park village land, which is a paper street, and has not itself been designated parkland, and which is not contiguous with parkland, is not a park.
Would you email that wording to Kim?
I will do that, but we had 2 kinds of paper streets. One contiguous to parkland, and I understood the consensus of the board was that if you have a paper street that doesn't touch parkland on either end, then we did not want that to be parkland.
Correct.
Okay. And then I would suggest that under accepted uses, we add all paper streets are accessible to the public for non-parking uses.
We want to
Just
make, them-
clarify.
you want to get those changes to Kim and we can revisit?
Tom, did you mean to add that to the sentence that's there, or is that instead of the sentence that's there?
Would you repeat that question?
Okay, the sentence you just read to us under accepted uses, are you saying that should be added to the one that's there, or is that in place of the sentence that's there now?
That paper streets are accessible for all non-parking purposes is to be added to the
That's what I
the
thought.
paragraph title accepted uses.
I'm just thinking about one correction to that. Should we say non-parkland paper streets as listed on the chart in this policy are permitted to be used? Because we were gonna send the parkland paper streets to the parking committee to discuss for what we're gonna do. The only places where we're gonna allow parking officially, I believe if I remember correctly, we're on village-owned paper streets and not parkland paper streets yet. Correct? Am I overcomplicating things here?
I think that this policy is consistent. with
Okay,
what you are articulating.
okay,
And if you decide that non-park paper streets are, that more of them are going to be used, or some of them are going to be used for parking.
Yeah.
I think we just adopt or amend this policy and that next green, yellow chart at
Okay.
that time.
okay. Because, yeah, okay, makes sense.
Do you want to vote on this with those changes now, or just wait till next time?
I would prefer just to wait to see the final.
Yeah.
Me
Or do
too.
that in 2 weeks or something? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do that. at the work. Yeah,
okay,
Kim, if you could send that to me in Word format, and then I'll send it back in redlined
Okay,
format for discussion.
yeah, I missed the beginning of your discussion, but I came in when you said something about adding the use of the paper streets, so I will send you, it's one page.
There
Super
were
easy.
a couple things that Tom wanted changed that he will send to you.
Okay,
Couple wording.
one more comment. I know originally when we did this listing of the streets in the green and the yellow, we were identifying which are currently used for parking and which are not used for parking. In the final version, should we change that to approved for parking or parking allowed, parking not allowed? Just because I think, although we're saying that these were historically used for parking, what we want to be saying is that going forward, they are allowed to be used for parking.
Right,
That's a good suggestion.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, next we have the short-term rental policy review. I had a couple comments. First one being, have we defined what adequate parking is?
No,
I believe that was intentional to allow whoever was, I forget if it's the zoning or the planning board, I think it's the zoning board, to allow them to determine that and not to put it in concrete writing.
Right.
Okay, and
well, I guess the question is, does this board want to schedule a public hearing on the draft local law and just take out defining parking place? And then we're going to be looking at a broader reworking of our zoning code so that it is consistent with our new master plan in the fairly near future, and we can put that definition at that time, as opposed to holding up this short-term rental law for that one reason.
well, parking space was a definition, but then that was separate from adequate parking, wasn't it?
I believe so, yes.
So-
I'm okay. Okay, go ahead, Heidi. I'm sorry.
No, I'll let you speak.
I'm personally okay with keeping adequate parking in place for the time being, because it is going to be subject to a special use permit. And at that time, that can be determined by the relevant person, whether it's code enforcement, zoning, or whoever is reviewing it right now. And then, like you said, Tom, when we do update zoning based on the master plan, I think we can maybe more directly address it to give some better guidelines. But I'm personally okay with keeping that in there right now, because I think it's left to a person who knows what adequate parking should be to determine that on a case-by-case basis.
And take out the definition of parking. I don't think unless parking space goes in with other definitions, I don't think we referred to parking spaces. I think we only referred to adequate parking. That's the way I remember.
I believe you're correct.
So does that definition need to be in there for other parts of zoning, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what we think about.
I think kicking it out now doesn't do any harm to the short-term parking law. And I think the flexibility that it gives the planning board on a case-by-case basis is actually better.
Okay. All right.
Fine.
One other thing, there was number 5. Tenants will have a bathroom separate and apart from that of the owner. That struck me as, what was the purpose for that?
When it came, by the time it got to me, and Dan and Tom and I had our meetings, that was already in there. So I assumed that some other source had decided that was important. Tom, do you have anything to say about that?
I believe it came from Dan Shapiro.
You know why he thought that?
I have my suspicions and I'll keep my mouth shut.
I mean, it sounds a little odd, but there may be some legitimate reason for that. I'm not exactly sure what that legitimate reason would be.
I mean, I don't have to have it in there. When I first saw it, I was like, I was a little, oh, I don't know what that's about, but I don't. It's more detail than I need on what people are doing in their house, but
I don't particularly want to have Peter in charge of patrolling bathrooms in houses.
right. Yeah.
I would think it would be the owner's concern if they felt that they wanted a private bathroom or not. Or they could live with the fact that, 4 or 5 other people are in the house with them and they're all sharing this one bathroom.
Okay, would you like me to strike it?
I would say strike it, and if it turns out Dan has a legitimate reason that we're not aware of, we could revisit it.
Should we schedule it for a public hearing?
I would say yes.
Okay, so the two changes between what you have in front of you and what will be posted on our website prior to the public hearing is removing that paragraph 5 regarding the bathroom and taking out the definition for parking space.
Quick question, Tom. I think I know the answer to this. If we added 5 back in, would that be a substantive change to the law, or?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
Gary, you also had a comment about
Residents
that
must be-
residents need a copy of the village parking laws. I think we all need a copy of the village parking laws because it's, there are a lot of people in this village that don't know what the parking law is.
We have a parking committee.
Mm-hmm.
I will bet you $1 that since I have been involved with the village, we've had at least 12 parking committees. There has never been a local law or a resolution to come out of any of those, to the best of my knowledge.
But a parking
So
lot,
let's
a
please-
paved parking lot came out of the last one, the current
Okay.
one.
Let us please get something in there. And one of the reasons that I am pleading is that we have a law regarding parking. It says you can't park on the pavement. We have resolutions permitting parking on a portion of Andrews and on one side of Saratoga. A resolution cannot overcome a local law. So.
Yeah.
That and the crying need for parking reform, please, let's do something.
Isn't the paper streets thing is a good first step, right? I mean, that's
There you go.
permitting parking in certain areas of the village.
But that doesn't count. You gotta give me a local law, please.
All right,
That's harsh.
all right.
Do we want to schedule that public hearing for next month?
Yeah, we'll need a month, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it in 2 weeks.
Is the next full meeting on St. Patrick's Day too?
What?
It certainly is.
That's a high holy day.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay.
Nobody else is concerned about that, huh?
We will need a month because we have to submit our proposed local law for short-term parking to the county planning board.
Oh, right,
Since it is an amendment to zoning.
right.
All right, I'll make a resolution. We have a public hearing at 6:45 on March 17th.
I don't think, actually, Matt, I don't think we're going to make it in time because I think that their planning board meets the third week of the month and you've got to get your paperwork into them. So we might not be able to,
April?
yeah. Well, actually, Tom, is that, we can't pass the law or we can't even have our public hearing before the county signs off on it?
I believe they have to have.
We just do it April 7th.
I believe we can have our public hearing without having the recommendation of the county planning board. But I believe we can't vote on it until they've had at least 30 days or we've received their letter.
Okay. So we can have our public hearing. We can send it to the county and then we can do the law at the April meeting.
Yes. And
All right.
I don't think, I'm happy to call Jason, who's the chair, tomorrow and let him know what our practical deadline is for getting our paperwork in, because they have a questionnaire. as
Yeah,
well.
they have paperwork, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, carry on, Matt, sorry.
So this is making the public hearing on the 17th?
Yeah, at 6:45.
I can't believe that no one is bothered by this.
I am bothered. I am deeply bothered, but
Really?
I just will have to get the Guinness out of my system early.
All right.
A second?
Second.
Discussion other than what's already been said?
All aye?
Aye.
Aye.
What time is that?
6:45?
6:45.
All right, okay.
Next up, the bulk regulations. This is, Peter, the corrected or the updated version.
Correct.
With the only changes being the setbacks on,
RB2 for accessory structures. It's a 3-foot setback for the rear and the side and a height of 8 feet.
These are the changes?
Yep.
Now, would that mean a shed could not be higher than 8 feet?
Correct.
Is that realistic?
The shed height?
Yes.
Yes, it's realistic in your opinion, or yes, it's
Yes, I think so. I mean, most sheds are like 7 foot tall, like a standard.
You know, it was a Fred Severs recommendation. I wanted it to be a little bit higher, but Fred said, no, keep it low.
What about the
That's what we
shed
got.
that I'm putting in there? What about my shed? My shed that's been ordered since last August that still hasn't arrived. But is paid for and should be here in a couple of weeks. I'm assuming that, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's,
It may not be. Yours is a very large shed. You've got a building permit for it.
right.
We talked about the setback. You should be fine with the
That's fine.
setback.
But the height, is that an issue?
Well, I think at this point, your shed is ordered. It's not, it predates, it would be grandfathered into the, it would be. It's a
But I,
done deal.
yeah, but I didn't order like a weirdly tall shed. So I'm just wondering, are other people going to have problems with sheds and height?
They may. I mean, I don't know what a typical, I think,
Like I had in my old house, I had a 10 by 8 shed. It was 7 feet high.
oh,
That's
okay.
pretty.
I
That's a
know the
pretty
one,
standard.
I know that the one at the library is about 7 feet high. The new
Yeah.
shed.
That's a pretty standard
Is it?
run of the mill
Now,
shed.
when you say the one at the library, the peak's got to be higher than that.
Yeah. Are you talking about interior space or the
Yeah.
peak?
The peak.
What is the definition of height? 'Cause I know we've had this discussion
it.
before.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Well, mine was 7 feet internal, but you know, there's probably another maybe 6 inches on top of that tops, but I don't know. If
Under the revised definitions for our zoning code, height is going to be what we normally think it is, which is the top
Yeah.
of the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, just remind me, because I get a little confused every now and then, what would be, if somebody wanted to put in a 10-foot tall shed, what would they have to do? If we approved 8 feet?
Get an area variance.
Okay,
Which would be a pain in the neck if it cost you $200 to go to the zoning board.
okay. So make it 10 feet then, and
Okay.
unless we want to put
whatever
a
you guys-
ridiculously large shed in, then
Yeah, that would have to
We'll
be
cover-
pretty massive,
that
but
that would cover 90% of sheds, I would
Well,
say.
it's got to go before Peter anyways, so it won't be ridiculously massive, so. I mean, I'd be more comfortable with 10 feet.
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
looking right now at wooden sheds at Home Depot, and the door is at least 6 feet or a little more, and a lot of them, there is a peak, it's higher. I mean, a lot of them have an 8 foot high shelf inside, but the peak does go higher, so I think we
Right,
should put
yeah.
10.
yeah, I don't mean the interior space. I don't have like a cathedral shed coming, but when you look at how high the roof is, that might be
Yeah.
higher than,
Okay, 10 it is.
okay.
I think it's fine, but I also think it's placement is an issue too. A 10-foot high shed, poorly placed, could block the view out of Heidi's window behind her there. And if there was an adjoining property owner, now whether 8 feet would make that much of a difference, I don't know. I just wonder. I could think of one circumstance in the village. I think it's over by the Thisons, where somebody built an exterior shed or something, and it blocked the window.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think placement is almost as important as the height.
Well,
Right.
that's kind of a courtesy to your neighbor. I mean, that's neighbor, to me, it's something that's neighbor to neighbor. You would think that you would have the courtesy not to put a shed up in front of your neighbor's window.
Well,
I think we do have a 3-foot setback. But,
the one thing I'm thinking is the majority of the houses in the village, a small to medium sized shed is going to be the more appropriate shed. I mean, there are people that have larger properties on the perimeter, so it's kind of difficult to, if we allowed a 10-foot shed and somebody's putting it on a smaller property where there is, maybe there's a setback, but it is blocking. It's not quite. It's hard to take that into account. You know what I'm saying? Like in the core of the village, a 10-foot high shed might be too high.
You start somebody put up a 6-foot fence and it was too high.
Right. So it's that's
But
why
I guess the issue becomes then, we just passed a law saying that if you do anything on your property, you need to at least check to see if you need a building permit and get approval saying, yes, you need a building permit, or no, you don't need a building permit. And it would be something that I would talk to the owner about where you're putting the shed. Is it going to be in front of your neighbor's window? It's as a courtesy, you wouldn't want to do that to your neighbor.
right.
So you deal with that, Peter. You talk to people about good neighborliness and aesthetics and things.
Right.
Did we talk a year or two ago about waiving the fee or removing the fee for the
We
ZBA?
should. We talked about it, but we never made a decision on
That to me would be a more happy medium, because if we set a more conservative number on the height of the shed, and then, say somebody like Heidi who has the room could come before the ZBA to get a variance without having to pay $200, I think that's a more reasonable solution than going kind of above and beyond what we need to account for everybody, and then somebody's able to do something. I know what you're saying, Peter, that they can go before you and you can talk to them about neighborliness until you're blue in the face, and
right.
they still do it if it's within their right to do it. So that's the only thing I'm struggling with is I prefer, because what we're really talking about here is the core of the village and how things look in the core, and I'd prefer to have it a little bit more conservative and then have people be able to get a variance without having to pay the $200 in places where they do have more room and it makes more sense. So that's kind of where I lean on it.
I don't see anything wrong with providing guidance, and then people could ask for, an exception. Yes.
So does that mean we're back to 8 feet?
I don't want to be the person that makes people do things that are unnecessary and have unnecessary regulations. But what are we trying to accomplish
Well,
with
if
this?
you want to rely on good neighborliness on this particular issue, please come on over to my neighborhood and.
Right. So
What is the rule now? How high can someone make a shed now?
there is no height right now.
So I mean, people can put a 20-foot shed up now.
Correct.
It's just not that much
Just
of an
ask
issue.
Tom
I just
Bergen.
think that
They could put the Leaning Tower of Pisa up, provided it's 144 square feet at the base.
Yeah. They can put an 8-foot shed. They can put an 8-foot shed up and block somebody's window right now in the core.
Right. So I guess my view on it is, and I just feel like what we're trying to accomplish here is to really put some limits on the core of the village. But if you make it broad enough that it encompasses people that do have more land, then you give those people the right to do it. And there's nothing really you can do other than say, hey, you really shouldn't do that because it's unneighborly, and then somebody can just go ahead and do it anyway if it's within the code. As long as they have the setbacks and everything else. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But
Okay, that's a lot of talking. 8 or 10?
8 with a revision of the
8.
zoning fees.
correct.
Yeah,
I
that would be
think we were all-
perfect.
We were all in agreement to remove the $200 a year or two ago, and we haven't done it yet. So I think we should do that.
So procedurally, we're again talking about a revision of our zoning law, and this will have to go to the county planning board. So I'll call our head of the planning department for the county tomorrow about both of these matters. Would this be on for 6:30?
Talking about waiving removing the $200 fee.
No, that we can do
Okay.
tonight by resolution, but the changing the bulk zoning
Yeah.
chart needs to be a local law revising our zoning code.
Okay. So I'll make a resolution to review that at 6:30 on the St. Patty's Day.
That's one less pint.
Yes.
Probably still be Zoom, so.
Fill in the whole evening there, Matt. Fill in-
That's gonna bring the root beer.
Yeah.
Do we
Keep the
have a
corned
second?
beef in. Keep the corned beef in a little longer. It'll be fine.
Better be a short meeting.
Do we have a second
Yes.
discussion?
No, vote,
Yes.
all aye,
Yes.
Heidi, Paul?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So 6:30 bulk regulations, 6:45 was
Short-term
short-term rentals. Okay.
So, Tom, you said we could make a resolution to wait to remove the $200 fee for zoning board tonight.
At any time.
I'll make a resolution to drop. What, Gary? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
To reduce the zoning board application fee from $200 to $0.
I can,
Discussion. Peter, what are the, well, you may or may not know this. Is it just one fee to go before the zoning board and it's $200 regardless of what you wish to do?
You're muted, Peter. There's a zero, there's no
Yes,
fee to go
it's-
before the
it's-
planning board, by the way.
Right, the planning board is zero, the zoning board is $200, whether you're looking for a 1-foot variance or a 50-foot variance. It's, it doesn't matter. It's all,
On average, the zoning board meets what, like 2 or 3 times a year?
if that, very rarely.
So for me, it's just,
This would be such a great thing, I think.
So we don't really derive much revenue from this, even if it was a,
I would assume that given what we're doing here, the zoning board, hearings would go up because we're reducing it to 0 and we're creating more things that would require a variance. However, I think it's personally, the right way to do things that's going to make sure that we take care of the people in the core of the village by making sure that the regulations, match what is the bulk of the houses in the village, while also giving people that do have property to do things to get that variance granted in an inexpensive manner.
We already have an all volunteer board. It doesn't cost us to bring
Right.
the board together, and yours truly is on salary, so it doesn't cost any more for me.
Yeah.
As long as we provide that the applicants have to pay our engineer's fees, if we have to have an engineering analysis, this is a revenue neutral change, and
Okay. Should I put that caveat in the resolution, Tom, or is that something we don't particularly need?
Kim already has that scribbled
Okay.
down. You just need to
Okay.
say so resolved.
So resolved. And I think, yeah, okay, Tom.
We're still in discussion here, so. Paul?
no,
We're not voting yet. We're discussion.
I
stage.
know. I said I seconded it, but you already knew that.
We all good?
Looks like it. Shall we vote? Tom,
yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Gary?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Under new business, Ulysses S. Grant photo. Permission to publish. I say yes.
This one,
I see no reason.
kinda cool.
And it's not a photo we took. It's a photo that was made by, 100 and something years ago for a stereoptic slide. And I think we should ask for credit in it. It's already there's no copyright on it anymore. It's way beyond the copyright period. It's just like something
we're not giving permission. We're just saying that we have no opposition to its being used.
Right.
Right, but I think they want to get a copy from us of it, so they have a good quality copy. You could ask for, you know, a credit in there. That's standard, you know, photo courtesy of.
I
Village
think
of
that's what
Round
they
Lake.
said they would, I think they said
Yeah.
that's what they would do. I'll double check.
That's
And
fine. I
if
think that's.
they're making a good print, maybe they could give us one as well.
Yeah.
Signed.
Right.
Or ask them if they'll send us a copy of the book to put in our, you know.
That's right.
I s-
Apparently
I
it's a
saw-
very rare photo, he said.
I did see the picture, but I might have missed the email on who was requesting it. So if you guys could just let me know.
It's, University of Illinois Publishing,
Okay.
some university.
If anyone's really interested, I did this, so I assure you it works. You can take that photo that she sent us and put it up on your screen and get real close to your screen and slowly move back. And if you work at it, you can see it in 3D. Just
Oh,
very
that's cool.
Really?
You don't need the machine. You just can do it with your eyes. You just kind of really relax your eyes. Your eyes are looking pretty much straight ahead.
Well,
It's a
can't
little,
wait for this meeting to end so I can try that.
it's not a
know.
great 3D. The
Quick.
people at the bottom are really close to you, and then there's something here, but everyone in the background is kind of flat. And there's some things right up close to you. It's kind of a cheesy 3D, but it is 3D.
That's cool. Do we need to resolve that or just, you know, you guys are okay with it and we'll just go with
I
that?
think,
Board,
I
I'd
think a
say.
resolution is a good thing here,
Okay.
that we have no objection to the use of the photograph. B, we have no authority to speak for any other person that may have intellectual property in the photograph. And C, that we would be grateful if they would give us attribution in the book.
So resolved.
Resolved.
Okay.
Second,
Yes.
Did I resolve it? Did I put the resolution? That's what you got.
too slow,
Paul, why
Paul.
don't you be second? Tom will be
Fine with
first and
me.
Paul be second. Okay.
Fine with me.
Two.
Okay,
Discussion?
okay. So using it. Just writing down the thing. Okay.
It was the little tiny cutout of the, is that Grant?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I zoomed in real close and said, that's the dude. He's got a
He's got-
widow's peak. That's how you can tell.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, I'll speak with the guy tomorrow. He just wants me to send it on email in a high resolution format. So
Hmm.
that can be done. He says it's very rare.
Have we voted?
We have not voted. Tom,
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Matt, and Gary.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, under adopt policies, I myself am ready to adopt the investment, procurement, sewer, command vehicle, ethics with Paul's suggestions, reserves policy, fund balance, and sexual harassment.
We're leaving out water, right?
Yeah, water and personnel, we're going to hold off on because there's still a few things to.
Can you just go through the list? Because I missed one.
Investment?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that
If
okay
people, if
with-
everybody else is, right? Yeah.
if everyone else is okay with that, adopting en masse?
Yes.
I would request we pull sewer policy out. I do have one suggested change.
Okay, let's pull sewer out because Tom, I didn't get a chance to go in and change those names that you were talking about.
Okay, so investment, procurement, command vehicle, ethics with Paul's suggestions, reserve policy, fund
Fund
balance,
balance. Yeah,
and sexual harassment.
okay.
Motion to readopt,
So moved.
Second.
discussion?
Just for clarity, on the investment policy, there's, when I looked at it, there's some red lettering? Is that new language?
There were new banks. There were some old banks written, I believe, in there.
Okay, so for example,
Um,
under 7, designation of official depository.
Yeah.
We have Adirondack Trust, and then in red, we have Boston Spa National Bank and Central National Bank. And I don't know.
Are
I didn't
those
know if
are those
that's
crossed
new
out?
language.
I believe we had a couple of old banks on there, like Bank of America or something, and I think the ones that were on the most recent copy were the corrected ones. And then there was also something, Tom, with an Appendix A. We couldn't find the Appendix A at
Right.
first. It's been attached. So I believe that Jessica added the correct things in the most recent version, but I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
the Appendix A was a document provided by, I think it was like Wilmington Trust, the folks that hold our collateral or something.
Yeah.
And the Appendix A is part of the language of that.
I
So
had-
we attach, we have that, and we will attach that to the document.
I had
And I think
Jessica-
yeah,
I had Jessica look through it to make sure it was up to date.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that the red on the copies I had at least was either new or old or.
they had. I believe the Boston Spa National Bank and the other one are the correct banks, and I think the prior adopted version had some old banks listed. I think one of them was Bank of America or something like that. So, or Bank of New York
Yeah.
maybe. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's good.
And then I had a question on one of the other policies, if we can go on.
Yep. Mhm.
Just on the land sale,
Oh, we haven't done land sale.
we're not doing land sale? Okay,
Put
That's
that
fine.
on for next time as well.
okay, I'm done, thank you.
Anybody else?
Ready to vote?
All right, let's vote. Tom,
Yes,
Heidi,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking for water and sewer, water is very thick, and the sewer, I had to completely recreate it, and we can maybe talk about those at the workshop, maybe, if you guys want to, and then we can adjust it and have it ready for the meeting after, because it's basically ready. There's a couple of things I need to add to sewer, as per Tom's email. But I can pass them around again, and we can, if you want to, if we're having a workshop, I don't know if we're having a workshop, or we can just do it at the 17th meeting. Up to you.
That makes sense to do it if we have a workshop to do it then.
I mean, we don't really need to have a workshop just for this if we don't want to. I mean, it's up to the board.
Well, we should determine that before this meeting's over.
Yes.
Were there any other things we were going to discuss? Just trying to remember.
I just wanted to note that what was referred to as a sexual discrimination policy is actually a policy regarding all kinds of illegal discrimination. And that's what makes it different than our previous policy. That was recommended to us by our liability carrier.
The only thing I'm thinking about the water and sewer and is just that if we do have a workshop regarding it, that people might want to talk about water and sewer also as a one-off topic. So I know we've kind of gone back and forth over it for a while. So not necessarily as it pertains to the policy, but we could use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I mean, there's a lot of red on that on the policy itself, but it's a lot of antiquated language. It was really kind of a cleaning up job. And then the wrong fees were in there, and I just really cleaned up the language. It was more of that kind of thing, less content, more grammar, and a couple of incomplete things. But it's up to the board what they want to do.
I mean, I guess if we're not soliciting too much public input on it, if it's just a cleaning up of grammar more than anything else, then there's no need to really go over it.
Yeah, I think we could probably just do it at the
Okay.
next, on the 17th.
Okay.
With a few emails in between.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, so we're at the voting stage on these?
No, we did already.
Oh, we did, okay. Okay. Next, village trucks. Been talking to John about his priorities for replacement. And he indicated one of the F-350, one of the dark blue ones, smaller ones, should be replaced. And that will be around 70,000. And to replace the Salter, which is $12,769.
Yeah, Garrett, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh,
Here. So if anybody has any questions,
oh, it just says iPhone. I was wondering who that was.
I didn't know if my name was there or not.
No. Good. I'm glad I didn't say anything bad about you.
I'll say something bad about him. How come he can't get by with a 31-year-old truck?
Well, that's
Started
not the
cranking it to start.
Well, the F-350 is a 2003?
2009.
Nine, I think.
Nine, okay. And I noticed we just put $2,600 into it in January. And that needs to be replaced, correct?
Yes, that is top of the line as far as replacements go.
What about the big truck, the 31-year-old Sander?
That needs to be replaced. The Sander is not 31 years old. The truck is 31 years old.
Right, okay.
And it does need to be replaced, but I was asked priority, and priority would be the smaller truck is definitely a priority.
Well, how critical is the other, is the 31-year-old big truck in terms of our needs? I agree we should replace the 350, the F-350, but can we get by with the big truck, the 31-year-old one, for another year or two?
Yes, I mean, it's a priority, and I would have it on the list. I mean, yeah, it's critical, but the F-350 at this moment is the one we're sinking the most money into. And if that truck goes down, in the summer is not so bad, but in the winter, as we saw during that one snowstorm, it shows, and it shows quickly. I couldn't keep up with the streets with the snow.
So really the critical vehicles for us, at least in the interior, are the two small trucks.
Yes.
And rough guess, what would it cost to replace a big truck like that? 150?
That's a good starting point. I would think it's been a long time, but it's probably a little more than that. But that's a good starting point.
What about a 350?
The 350, I'm thinking, it's a state bid, so it's hard I can't just go off of prices, but I'm thinking it's in the $70,000 bracket, give or take. It's around there.
And fortunately, we have 70,000 in the DPW equipment reserve. And in this year's budget, we have 10,000 appropriated for DPW equipment reserve, and probably another 10 or 20 going into next year's budget. So if we could wait on the Sander until next year's budget, we could.
Yeah, the Salter would actually be for the 2000 truck. That one there is 21 years old. The average, I talked to the guy getting estimates on that, and he couldn't believe it. The average lifespan on that Salter is 7 years. So we've well exceeded its lifespan.
So would the thought be to get a new F-350 and a new Salter?
To keep the village running, those would be the two most important pieces of equipment, yes.
The F-350 in this budget year and the Salter in the next budget year?
Yes.
So we will get the info on that and report back on the next meeting.
Okay. I also just wanted to bring up, maybe I should give Kimmy a list so that the board members have it of the equipment replacement schedule. You know, like for instance, hold on a second, I'm in my car. Our snow blower is a 2010, you know, it doesn't need to be replaced yet, but it's coming up.
Yeah.
Our mowers, we got a 2013 and a 2015, which isn't too bad. You know, we might have to get a deck for the older one, but they're getting older. You know, we have a wood chipper, it's a 1991. I'll get a list to Kimmy and get it out to everybody, just so that nothing is a surprise to anybody.
Definitely. Good.
Sounds good.
And on that list, John, could you just note the estimated lifespan of it, or what year you think you need to replace?
We have that list, and there's up in the office. There's one somewheres, but I have a copy at the garage, so I'll just bring it up, and she can make copies and get it to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have an inventory. I think we did that several years ago.
Yeah,
Like
we did.
maybe like 5 years ago, I think we did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can work on that together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
John, anything else you wanted to say? I didn't mean to skip over you in the reports. I didn't know you were there.
No, no, I don't. And that everything that was fine. I was actually bringing my son to Mathnasium, so I wasn't even sure if I was hooked up correctly. So nope, we're pretty covered. I didn't catch the beginning of the board meeting.
We got a video. You can watch it.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have correspondence.
I don't have anything. It was just about the grant photo, but we covered it. So
Okay.
I think that's it.
Approval of minutes.
Heidi wanted to wait. You had some comments, Heidi. Should we approve with the changes?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a sentence. It was saying that,
Okay.
that Gary had presented the short-term rental policy, and I wanted to note that Tom Peterson and Dan Shapiro and I did a lot of work on the revisions, and that we were presenting it, and then
Okay, so we'll add that sentence, and then we'll approve the minutes as amended. We'll call it as amended.
it's fine with me.
Okay.
Say,
This is February 3rd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
February 3rd workshop
Workshop.
meeting.
so moved.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Okay.
Mark me as absent for that.
Yeah, that's right. You were absent. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't vote, I guess, then, right? Yeah.
Correct, or I abstain.
Yeah, I'm staying. Everybody else, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
And approval of abstract in the amount of,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I thought we were just doing the February 3 minutes, but I have a change to the January 20 minutes.
run that by again, please.
Oh, we have to do the January 20 minutes as well.
Oh,
Right. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
we
yeah.
did the other
And
one.
I'd like to point out on the third page in the middle, it says Chapter 91 Uniform Commercial Code.
Yeah.
The UCC is a separate New York state law. I think it would be better to replace that with Chapter 91 Village Code. Otherwise, you're going to confuse people.
Okay. Tom, you and I might need to discuss that tomorrow. I don't have it. I don't have it in front of me. but I'll reach out.
Okay,
Okay, so minutes as amended. Okay. January 20th. Yeah, I think I sent the January 20th minutes a couple weeks back when I first finished them. It was just the February 3rd ones that I just sent recently. Okay.
Motion to accept.
Moved.
Paul,
Second. Second.
Tom? Discussion? As noted.
Mhm. Okay, we'll vote. Tom,
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Okay.
And the treasurer requests the following be moved. The treasurer has provided the February abstract for approval, which includes January prepaid invoices and February claims. The total for the February abstract is $219,897.22.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Vote, all aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Village attorney, words of wisdom.
no, not this month.
Village mayor, no words of wisdom. Village trustees,
No.
Nothing for me.
Nope.
public comment. Nope. And how do we want to handle the hose company volunteers? We have two applications.
Could we come in and sign them?
I think that's what we did last time.
Can you, do you have them in front of you, Gary?
I do not.
Okay. I was gonna say, maybe next time if we're doing this by Zoom, maybe you could have it and share screen, and then we could approve and then come in to sign after the fact. I don't know how to approach it this time, but
Yeah. I don't
might
know
be
if we
once.
can do executive meetings via Zoom.
You can just kick everybody out
Session.
except the trustees, because you have the power to admit. So it would be executive. You just stop recording. Can you? I don't know. That's my guess.
But we still have,
Problem is, when I stop recording it, it instantly compiles the video, so I'd be
Oh,
off for
okay.
about 20
Alright.
minutes.
but we still have to come in and sign it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If we come in and sign it and everyone signs it, I see no reason why the department can't go ahead with those people. Then we could just vote on it at our next meeting. Would that work?
That's what we did last time, as I
Yeah.
recall.
What hours
Yeah.
is what days and hours is the office open these days?
We're doing Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3 with no lunch.
You know, somebody, will you be there tomorrow, Kim? Because I got to bring the,
Jessica will be there in the morning, she said. She I think she answered you. You might have come back later. I was on
Well-
copy for that.
I thought she wasn't feeling well or something. I didn't know. I heard.
Oh. You know what? Just send
Are
an
you
email
there?
in the morning, and I'm gonna be home tomorrow. But if I have to dash over, I'll dash over if she can't make it.
Okay, because I was going to drop that stuff off, and I could look at those if you have the host
Yeah.
company stuff. I'll do that then. Okay.
Okay,
I really
I'll
can't
check
get there tomorrow. I
Yeah.
can't.
that's all right.
I just have to go over with all the invoices.
Maybe.
You know, I realized I should have sent it around with the vouchers. That would
Yeah,
have been a
yeah.
better plan. Oh well. Okay.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Well, okay, in that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sounds good.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
All right, thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.